Alright, so we're back into another Dragon Ball Super card game video. Yeah, this one, we're gonna talk about 12 of December's 2019 formats, 12 of the best cards in the format, and how to kind of combat them in this commenting the meta video. And if I am getting this on time, it is Christmas. If you're celebrating, I want to wish you a happy Merry Christmas. I don't shout out other videos enough, but if you haven't checked out Scatter Reports podcasts where everybody calls in and does like their voice things, I'm in it, of course. You should check it out because it's worth just looking at Russell's face and his despair listening to them.
Court YouTube channel.
I heard a cat.
Hello, cat.
You just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Anyway, I'm gonna jump right into it. I do want to say also, I'm probably gonna go ahead and take a break from now until the 1st of January to kind of refresh everything, get a new intro, maybe some new thumbnails. I'm digging this design. It's pretty easy to make and get it on a consistent basis. But the biggest thing is that in order to talk about all the changes that I want to do and all the goals that I want to do, I might go on face cam. I might go ahead and do the face reveal. I already did it on a couple different things. You might even see it in these coming months as well. But if you want to see that, comment below. No one wants to see my face, right? All right, moving on. Let's go ahead and talk about one of the most popular and strongest and unreasonably priced cards, Toppo, Righteous Age. So Righteous Aids, there we go. Of course, you haven't seen this. This is a counterattack. You basically pay 2 if it's their opponent's turn. It is 4 if it's on your turn, so don't forget that. It's so dumb if you do. And it says auto, if your opponent's on the opponent's turn, when you play this card for the duration of turn, your opponent can't attack unless they choose 2 cards and place them into the drop area. That includes any attack, leader, or not. Of course, if you've seen this, if you've seen all this, there's a lot of different answers for it. The one of the biggest answers that I think even PPT Vegas has shown was Ruthless Tau, or Ruthless Trainer Tau. This one basically says when a card is placed into the drop area by the opponent's skill, they warp 3. And of course, if they are making you pitch 2 during the turn that you are swinging with, you're just gonna go ahead and pitch 2, and then they neg 3 for playing the Tau. And the best way to play this is basically after they topo. So don't do it while they topo. You can always, I mean, you can do that so that way they don't topo. I mean, I had to deal with that within Vegas after someone dropped down 2 of them. You just don't play it at that point. But the best way to do it is, of course, topo, or let them topo, and then you Tau, and then you go ahead and do it. Yes, it is 2 costs with anything non-green or yellow, but against Yellow Baby, maybe even other yellow leaders, I don't really see green leaders playing topo unless they play red-green. It's still pretty good value at 2, or paying 2 against a red leader who is playing topo. I would say try it out. And then we have the Absolute Respawn, and of course all the other ones except for the yellow one that counter the topo. Since you are playing it from your hand and it costs 2, this gets around it. It goes right back to hand for the green, or the black one sends the warp, the red one sends the drop, and then the green one sends the drop as well, except for the yellow one. A more generic option for that, because for this one and as well as Desperate Measures, they both count. So this is going to be a 2 cost in hand. The auto never goes off, but the counterattack does. So just remember that they can still counterattack even if you play one of these costs or these cards in response. The counterattack still goes through, and you still go to the next attack, basically. They just don't get the auto effect. Same thing for the Cold Bloodlust, Denial of Hope, and as well as Hidden Potential, which is the newest counterplay for green leaders, in which it's basically a 1 cost if you have the blue or green energy available. And overall pretty good. It's just, again, they still get the counterattack. Cold Bloodlust still has a 20k on board. Denial of Hope is great, but you're investing 2 energy. Hidden Potential is a little bit better compared to Preemptive and a couple other ones that are related to this. And your Wide Open is just useless because they're just going to play it another time. All right, moving on to Vegeta the Cruel, Champa, and Vegeta the 5-drop from Draftbox. All pretty, except for Champa the Trickster. Obviously, Vegeta is the highest, but Vegeta the Cruel being at like $5, $6, $7 right now is still pretty wild. They all are 3 costs or less, so Absolute Respawn and all the other 1 cost counterplays that are for those specific costs still are really good options for it, because these are all auto effects. They basically are going to be investing 2 energy for these guys and then 3 energy over here, and then you use the Absolute Respawn, you get that free energy back, they get it back in their hand, they wasted 3 energy for that, etc. It's really good in probably 18. I think 18 is probably the best leader for this card. I don't see a lot of people playing both that leader and as well as this card, but if you are, I would definitely play this if you're playing a blue leader. Desperate Measures does get around these two, and of course the other cards are 3 or less as well, so they all get around that. And then of course Kobo less. And probably the best thing for these, for this one and as well as Toppo, is going to be cooler, because obviously you get a draw of it, you get a 15k body, and that counter is no longer played. The biggest thing or the biggest difference I would say, because this one is a counter attack, these guys are counter plays. The new red yellow option, which we might look at in a second, I don't know if I put it in this, but if you've seen the expansion one, these guys aren't affected by that because it is a counter attack. Another thing to get around this, which I probably should have put it in this one, is the one drop Heroes Mufuba, in which it does get around that new red yellow counter, because that is a counter battle card attack, not a counter attack. Same thing with Mufuba as well. Anyway, moving on to the 10 drop Demigra secret, the Vegeta secret, and as well as Dark Banisher Fu. They all sort of have their own weaknesses in which they either have to attack or their auto has to go off. The thing about Fu, the Dark Banisher, the Dark Banisher, is that even if you Crusher Ball it, it's not going to do too much. It's still going to be on the field, and they still have all these other attacks. The triple attack, getting away from that is pretty big. So if you keep their board clear and then go ahead and wait for that Banisher and then Crusher Ball it, that still should do some damage, or at least mitigate that turn for that, because they usually set up for that. And of course Super Gal Gun, I think it's an underrated card. I still like the card. It's just like the other 4-cost cards. It's pretty cool in Baby. Obviously I played it within the Vegas regional, and then obviously the profiles that I did for the Super Baby 1 deck. And of course we have Champa the Trickster. They affect pretty much all of them. The one this I wouldn't recommend, because you do, well, I guess all of them you have to do that. You still have to warp a card for it, and for this one you do draw a card to replace it. And of course you are able to go ahead and have a 15k body. The thing about it is that if you are going against like 4 or less for any of these guys, this is susceptible, just like I was saying earlier, to those counterplays, the 1-drop counterplays. So I would watch out for that, and just be careful. And then we have Mutaito, which is probably a pretty underrated card. Still pretty expensive in the teens range, I mean in the double-digit range if anything right now. It has a foil reprint, didn't do anything to the price, but these are good against Yellow Broly. I don't think anybody's going to be playing Demigra and Yellow Broly, but these two are definitely going to be very playable, and it has been playable for those. Mutaito really mitigates that restand even if you Crusher Ball or Super Gallic Gun, so it is a really good option for it, because usually they won't be at 8 energy. They're going to be paying this 4, they're going to be paying this 5, and then go ahead and while they're on the offensive, Mutaito will shut that down and they won't be able to restand. Now Mufuba is great for these two and really any good boss monster, but really the Demigra is not really affected because they still get it, they still get the auto, so these guys are probably going to be better options. Same thing with the Super Saiyan Broly over here. These two are going to be better for that. Yes, you have to warp, one for a rival, one for the auto, and that's really about it actually. But you can go ahead and KO it, because usually they are going to be equal or greater than the 8 energy or less than 8 energy. There you go. And then we have the Vegeta, of course. It's probably going to be a pretty good option for that. This is going to be the best option for that card. And now a card that I don't really like particularly, but Unexpected Turn is going to be an option. If they have a board already with three or more cards, energy cost of 2 or more, and then they play the secret will not be played, whether it's Demigra or Vegeta, and as well as the Fu, and then you get to warp all the 2 costs. It's just a downside if you have 2 costs on your board, if they're blockers or whatever, it kind of hurts that, but it's worth not getting Demigra, Vegeta, or food. Now we have the Great Ape Baby, similar to the stuff that I was talking about. If you shut down their attack, they won't be able to get the draw. Mufuba is really good because now you get to mitigate their swings on their turn that you don't get the draw, and then on your turn, if you get to play stuff freely if you're playing blue. Super Saiyan Broly is really good because it you know, most of the time it's going to be turn 3 or 4 in which the baby is going to come out, maybe even turn 2, and then you're going to have enough energy in order to KO it, and then now you have a 20k body. It's just that, it is really just that strong. And now with the interactables, these two, the Father Son Kamehameha and as well as Heavy Wizard Demigra, are really pretty good staples against this card. If you haven't really been siding in either one of these, or if you don't have an answer in general, I would highly recommend to do these because they're pretty generic in the colors that are being played right now. And of course, Demigra is really good within the combo step, because they're gonna have three or less energy in order to get the baby. If they don't, then they're gonna do themselves. They're gonna be behind on cards, and as well as the board state, not having baby on board with 3 or less energy. And of course, remote Cirrus Bomb is great, but the fact that they can choose is kind of the downside, but it does work. Moving on to Piccolo, the 4-drop. So a couple of things to really consider here is the Charm of the Trickster, which is good. Crusher Ball can really can be really well too. The thing about those 2 cards is that, yeah, you got to put these guys into rest mode, but now they can attack with leader or something else. But if this is the only card they're playing for that turn and they don't want to swing with the other one in order to get away from that bond 2, because now you can swing at either one of them, you get the draw from Champa, and then you can go ahead and pressure so they can either waste cards or let it die. Godstrike Beerus is interesting. I think I like it. I've been playing a lot of 18, but I like to remove that barrier and then just pop it right after. So I think that's pretty good. Mafuba is great because now they're wasting, or they're going to have a turn or two, basically a turn and a half, and not using the effect on both of yours' turns. That's only if they swing with it. I doubt many people are going to be swinging with Piccolo, but Battle to the Death is really good. It's kind of a direct answer for this card, in which if you're playing red-yellow and your leader card is yellow, you get to go ahead and neg it for 25k, and that's it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to pay life. Ultra Instinct on energy, like if you guys are same energy, Ultra Instinct is pretty good, especially if they're paying 4 for it. You get to return to their hand. Now you get to draw a card, and as well as have a 20k body. Denial of Hope is really good. Just there you go. And then Super Baby 2 is a good option because now for the turn you get to ignore barrier, negate their skills, get offering, pay 2 energy, and then swing twice with a 25k. And now we have Great Ape Bardock, similar to the stuff that I was talking about before, but this time Ultimate Judgment Jacko, which is a pretty old card. It's just kind of ass because you have to choose one. There is no up to choose one. Unlike this card, in which this card you can choose up to 1. These are as old as dirt, just as a consideration if you're playing blue. Vegeta the Cruel, as a, yes, you get a draw, but now you have to warp 1, and now you don't have a 20k body, and I did this on my turn. Same thing for Denial of Hope. It's kind of ass because instead of getting a body for it, it's just sort of, you're paying 2 energy, and it's really easy to bait out. Super Saiyan Broly, because you are paying 2 to play it. There you go. It doesn't have barrier. Revenge Death Ball. Obviously, Red Baby hasn't really been in the format, but if you have 2 of these, you can go ahead and do some damage on one of the Bardocks, or just one of these and an after image, that type of thing. And then Blue-Green's answer for the Bardock is going to be Piccolo, in which obviously it's going to be like, yeah, you draw a card, yeah, you get the 20k body, but I'm going to kill it. And this guy has barrier, so there you go. After Mew and Baby, so we have the Dark Power Black Saiyan, because this is playing an auto effect. You play the 1 cost from your deck. It is a 15k or less. They have to pitch 2. If you have 1 or 2 of these cards on the board, it is a done deal. There you go. Obviously, they can play Tau in response, and you have to warp 3, but this is just a really good option for that. Crisis Crusher is not too bad if you pop the Mew, which is what everybody pops apparently. Just pop the Mew. That's 1 less card they can combo with for a rival. Shocking Death Ball is the same sort of thing. Izada you got is pretty good now that you can neg both of them. They don't have barrier. Mass Saiyan is not too bad as a tech option to warp these guys and maybe even another card, and then planning them 2 for literally every single turn. On your turn to neg it down and put it into the drop. And now lastly, we do have Beerus, no holds barred. This guy is interesting because he kind of gets around a lot of different things, being a 25k. Plus he has these 2 different effects, which is very versatile, which is why Beerus and as well as this card is kind of super popular right now. But we do have Sensu Bean, 4-star Ball, and Golemite that all boost within the combo step. These guys being Activate Battle, in which 4-star doesn't do as well as Sensu Bean, but it will boost within that battle. So during the arrival step, if you're swinging with the 35k and then you 4-star it, or 2 4-stars if it's 25k, this gets around that 30k power or less. to KO it. And it's the same concept for the Sensu Bean. If you're playing any kind of Broly, Golemite is the way. You go ahead and get it for the duration of the turn, and it's just strong in that way. This one is pretty cool if you're playing, well, any deck really with green. You get to give something 10k power if you're at 25 already. Now it has critical 10k and it gets around that Beerus if they're holding the Beerus and a red-yellow energy. And then Flaming Death Ball is pretty cool too. If you have a baby leader, you go ahead and give something 10k power. This is my way to get around Beerus when playing the 6-drop baby and trying to go for game. That gives them one less thing. And because it is in the combo step, just like these guys, they have to do it, or they have to like decide to counter, or they have to deal with it. Because now if they're holding the Beerus and they're waiting for the combo step to KO your thing, now you have the combo step on your available thing, or available offensive step, and then use the effect and then get around those things. So that's kind of the mentality for it. If you have any other options for anything that I've mentioned so far, because that should have been 12, yeah, it was, definitely let me know. This is sort of my 12 days of Christmas, 12 cards of the format sort of thing going on, if you didn't catch that on. I'm going to take that break until New Year's. I hope you guys enjoy your holidays. Subscribe if you're new. I promise I will be on it and going. I just need a little bit of break and some time to actually recoup and get a lot of things going for everything and everybody. I will see you in the next one, maybe even on camera. Later.